Right. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Wait, fuck, no,
That's not the intro. Dumb
that's
fuck.
not the
Go on.
intro. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of the Forgotten Podcast. I'm your host, Catman Joe, and we're joined here. No, I'm your host, Jess. So I'm double checking. It's
Are
been a
you
while.
our host? Honestly,
Am I?
be real. Are you?
Am I? You're saying? I don't know. You.
Ah, come on.
I'm trying. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of the Forgotten Podcast. I'm your host, Catman Joe, and we're joined here by none other than the cynic himself, Mr. Mass Cynic.
Who?
I just knew you were going to do that. Gosh damn it. Last year, some of you might remember, we released a green rated episode of our show called The Tragic Tale of 2021, where we both discussed the highs, the lows, and everything in between that we both individually went through during that turbulent year. With what?
With you. What's the
Don't
cripple?
believe
Jimmy.
me. Timmy.
Jimmy.
It's Timmy. It's
No,
Timmy.
no, no. That's the one with Tourette's. I'm on about the one that like has the crutches and goes at the end of like
That's,
every sentence.
is that Jimmy? I think it's true. I don't even know if the names. I think it's one of them.
Just stare and talk.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of the Forgotten Podcast. I'm your host, Catman Joe, and we're joined here by none other. I just can't. I can't even see you, but the thought of what you're doing or the thought of what you're going to do fucks me up. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of the Forgotten Podcast. I'm your host, Catman Joe, and we're joined here by none other than the cynic himself, Mr. Mass Cynic.
Who?
You had to ruin it for me. God damn it, man. Released a green rated episode of our show called The Tragic Tale of 2021, where we both discussed the highs, the lows, and everything in between that we both individually went through during that turbulent year. Well, with 2022 now being over, we wanted to take a minute to talk about how that year went for us. We'll be discussing our New Year's resolutions from last year and how pursuing them went. And lastly, we'll be sharing our goals for this year. And yeah, welcome back to our brand new episode of the Forgotten Podcast. Jesus Christ, man, that was challenging.
140 days later,
A
or
hundred,
something like that.
literally. No, literally. This is so by the time anybody who is watching this sees this, right? We like this is episode 51, which is kind of weird because we're recording this whole next season and pretty much any episodes we can. Really, I don't know what you'd say, Joe. What you'd call it, I guess, kind of sporadically, perhaps. Like we kind of are. We're
I'd
recording
say
like in between.
slightly inconsistent.
Yeah, in a slightly inconsistent manner. The last time we released an episode of the podcast, or even recorded one, was with Z Storm, actually, as we do this episode here. And that was now over 140 days ago, basically, well, not basically, 4 months, almost 5 months ago, which is kind of mad to even fathom, because we were in the Halloween era of the podcast, and it was a totally different era for us.
Yeah, my Luigi costume is sitting like next to my bed, rotting now. I
I don't
don't
even
think
know.
we'll ever need it again.
Mine's is at my dad's, and I don't know what's gonna
Maybe
ever
he's
happen to
wearing
that.
it, you know.
Maybe he's wearing, maybe he's wearing it. He's wearing the Mario costume, going out and doing what he does. But no, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another brand new episode of the podcast. Again, this episode 51, of course. It is really, I gotta say, good to be back doing this. I don't know if Joe would agree. I'm sure he would. But
I hate
maybe
it.
to be a pain, he probably would disagree. But like, no, it really, honestly, guys, it's good to be back today. As we saw already, this is the joyful tale of 2022. We're gonna be pretty much discussing what we done throughout the entire 2022 to some extent, because Joe's got a very poor memory and a slight case of dementia.
I'll be
But we'll be
I'll
trying
be
our
honest.
best.
I don't know if it's a very good thing or a very bad thing that I don't remember most of 2022. Maybe it was that bad that I tried to block it out, but
I feel
I
like
think it was up and down.
I feel like they say that thing about trauma where like because I remember as a kid like there's a lot no like but like Ted serious like like I remember hearing this and
I'm just like I don't
I
remember
never knew this
2022, and you're like, have you heard about trauma?
trauma. Have you heard about trauma? Like but like no like I remember hearing that apparently people that have like very traumatic experiences can often like block those memories out or altogether just kind of forget and
I
that's
would agree
apparently a
with
thing.
that statement.
Well,
Probably,
I
I
would
don't know.
agree as well.
I think the end of 2022 and the start of 2023 actually has been really awful on my end. Not much I can speak about, but just hasn't been fun.
Yeah.
Um, and I definitely think that me blanking it out is something that I've done. But I don't know. It's been up and down, and it's not been something that has been. I can't comment on it to the point where it's like it was that bad that I remember exactly what was wrong.
Yeah,
If you
you
know what I
don't.
mean.
Yeah. There's not exactly something you can kind of key in and kind of be able to specifically talk about. I know that, like, obviously, I'm not really. I recently watched episode 28, of course, or the last episode, the last kind of spin off to this. So this is a sequel. Like the original was the tragic tale of 2021, and that was us talking about. A lot of things, I got evicted from my house in that year. Obviously, I got evicted. I moved in with my dad's girlfriend, and when we were recording that episode, I was actually still living at my dad's girlfriend's with him, and that was very turbulent. And we're going to probably talk a little bit about that, of course. But what I remember from that era was that at the end of the year, we were kind of hoping for 2022. This was that we were going to push the podcast towards, say, 2,500 subs. We were going to try and go towards, I think, 50,000 channel views and monetization, which I think we can both confidently say we did give it our best. We did try. Things came up,
I
obviously, of
also
course.
think it was very doable. It's something we got very
Oh
close
yeah,
to doing multiple times. And I don't think it's a lack of want or a lack of drive, but we, I think, as a podcast, have had a very unfortunate past with just the way our lives
people,
have went, and not in a bad way,
lives,
but the way
yeah,
people go, the way things go, events in our lives, also not necessarily communication with each other. I think that is pretty good. It's just we
we
both get
actually,
really
yeah,
busy to a point where it gets hard to be consistent with the communication. Like we'll both send each other hundreds upon hundreds of voice messages, which is Joe's fault. He's conditioned me to do that. And if you don't know, or haven't have a or you don't have a friend who sends multiple voice messages, when you send one, regarding on how long it is, you have to listen to that in its entirety
and
before
then
then
respond,
responding.
yeah.
And in our cases, we usually probably don't respond until a day later, and that goes on both of
Oh
our ends,
yeah,
I think.
yeah, and then it's kind of a juggling back and forth. I think we're both trying to consciously acknowledge that and trying to go back to just typing to each other now, as opposed to voice messages. Got so much quicker.
Sometimes I'll be like, right, okay, Joe's not messaged me in like 3 days. I'm expecting a voice message at some
Hmm.
point about something. I'll be at
Prepare
work,
mentally.
and then I'll be like sitting there, like, oh, for God's sake, I had like 3 days off. He didn't message me once, but now that I'm at
Yeah,
work doing an eight
he's
hour
going to
shift,
message.
I've now got 15 minutes worth of voice messages to listen to. So I'm rushing around the shop while hearing beeping and people coming in, like, oh, can I buy this? I'm like, no, the Catman Joe is on the phone,
The
and this
cat
is a
manager was he's contacted me. I must speak with him. Your second
shifts are
message.
weekly. Catman Joe is
Yes,
yearly, so
he's
get with it.
daily. You know what I'm saying? That's what it is. You know. But no, like I think I don't know obviously what we're going to talk about in the entirety of this thing. Obviously, of course, I want to talk about 2022, especially mine, what's been going on for me, and then going into 2023, the good things that are
I
coming. And
think
I think
there
there's a
I
lot of
think
good
there'll be
days.
a bit of an all over the place episode today. I think it'll be like we'll
Definitely.
we'll touch on what happened or what we remember of 2022, and I think we'll then deviate into what's going on now, because I think we like to do when we do these episodes, we like to do a little bit of an update, don't we, for community of
Yeah,
the TFB,
yeah.
my stuff, your stuff, and I think it
Just
really
chatting
just
honestly and
demonstrates where
openly.
we are. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, I think that's probably the best way you can do it. So I think going back to 2022, obviously, Tragic Tale of 2022 happened or 2021 happened, and we done that episode. It was a good episode. I mean, we done that at the end of the new year. I actually on that whole recording session we had a good time, because me and Joe had recorded like Rolly's episode, that episode I think it was what was it 30 I think. We would pre-recorded a bunch of episodes like so that we'd have
we were
those
a
kind
good
of
few
not
ahead. We had like
yeah,
3 or 4.
yeah, so we'd have our birthdays off in January and stuff. But honestly, I think 2022 was, I mean, to say the least, it was turbulent. It wasn't as turbulent as 2021 for me, but it has been, especially towards the end, a lot more crazy. But it was better. I got to give you that. I gotta say that. I mean,
I think it
I moved.
was definitely slow. I like turbulent, like you said. It was something that I don't think much was really going on, or too much was going on. But for me personally, in 2022, it was just I know this is really bad. I'm trying to remember if I finished college at the start of this last year or the year before. I think it was like the early bit of 2022. I think it's when I
Right.
graduated college, and I think after that I obviously was just working, not full time but part time, but only doing that.
Yeah.
I think that's when I started to realize that because I've not got a lot going on and I'm not the fondest of my job, my motivation burnt out very, very quickly, and that's still the problem I'm currently having. Um, which is why I think I don't remember much of 2022, because I think it was just a repetition of that, and obviously driving, which we both want to speak about as well,
Yeah.
mashed
Definitely
into
the
that.
driving thing. Yeah. I mean, for me, 2021 was horrendous. I got evicted, moving to my dad's girlfriend's. I was living there with him. My dad was just being a pain in the ass, to say the least. Like, I love my dad, but like, it's been a pain in the ass. And then just kind of, it was what, the beginning of 2022, it was literally. Um, I went to go see my mother. I think, was it at the beginning of 2020? It was like February 2022. I went to go see my mother, and then I had to go away for a week because at this point my father was actually literally like we had to stop. It was kind of a bit mad for TFP as well at one point, but it wasn't too bad. But like we were still recording TFP. I think we're in the 30s at this point episode wise because we were doing Frybri's episode and then just about Xavier's and stuff. But we're doing Frybri's and Doctor Wasabi's and Planet Dragons. That's correct. I remember those. We pre-recorded those and not Frybri's, but Doctor Wasabi's and Planet Dragons. But I went to my mum's for a week This is just beginning 2022. Went to my mum's for a week to get away from my dad for a week because I was that stressed and that annoyed because my father was him and his girlfriend were having a bit of an issue in their relationship. My dad was drinking, taking drugs, causing issues. You know, the house got busted. My dad's girlfriend's house. She's never been involved in anything like that. That all happened, and then it just got too much for me. He was literally living in the bedroom that I was living in with me, sleeping on the floor on the mattress in the
I
back of my
remember
room.
this. There was a
Yeah,
lot. We had a lot of communication at that
yeah,
point as well,
yeah.
where
It was
we
really
were just
bad.
talking about, we'll leave the podcast for a bit. We wait till we were both situated, mainly
Yeah,
you, of course.
yeah.
I think around this time, this is when I was having a bit of a highlight of 2022, because I'd definitely say the best bit of my year was probably my I had a trip to York. I'm not sure if you remember me talking about that, but I went up to York for a few days, um, and that's where I was kind of like when I went up there, I was mainly there to like get away. Obviously, spend time with my dad as well, but I was spending most of
Oh,
the
I
time
remember
when we
that. Yeah.
weren't. Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
When I wasn't spending time, obviously, with my dad or exploring York, because I'd like to go off on my own and just explore the town because I love that sort of thing. Um, I would be sitting somewhere and I'd be writing scripts or new ideas or coming up with branding stuff. And I think the thing that was most valuable to me of 2022 was probably my rebrand, not name wise, because that was
Yeah.
obviously the year
No,
before, but
the
my
channel
art, the
branding.
characteristics, the way it looks, the sort of stuff I produce. It's still obviously not doing the best it could be, but it is a vast
It's
improvement
improving.
in my
Yeah.
opinion.
No, it's definitely improving,
And
man. 100%.
as of, you know, I know we're going to slowly go forward over the timeline anyway, but just quickly to jump forward a little bit. In 2023, I had this plan to upload weekly, and I still want to upload weekly. But after a fourth, was it third or fourth? I think it was fourth, might even be third. I don't know. After a few attempts at a driving practical and then failing, it kind of absolutely decimated my drive to make content. Not in a bad way, like oh I hate doing this, but it just made me think. Well, I'm not doing very well driving and stuff, even though I can drive. And the reasons I failed was actually the examiner's fault, or even my instructor said
Yeah.
that.
I remember you telling me
Um,
this.
yeah, it was a pain. Basically, I did make a mistake, but my instructor was like, "Hey, like, she could have passed you. No one was on the road. You weren't putting anyone in danger, and you literally drove flawlessly throughout the whole thing, apart from that one mistake that you made." And I think I was slightly offline at a junction, but there was no lines on the road at all. There was no one on the road, so it could have got passed as a minor as opposed to a major.
Yeah.
So it's just a grey area, really.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, I think just improvement towards the channel overall was a big thing. But the fact that that brought me back down kind of sucks because I still want to upload weekly personally. However, I've also realized in 2023 the type of thing I want to be making more. I made a video called Playing with the Skylanders games in
Great
2023.
video. One of my
That's done
favorites by
really
you.
well. I
Definitely.
definitely think it's my favorite thing I've ever made. And I
Oh,
want to make
definitely.
more stuff like that. Um, but to do that sort of thing, I can't upload weekly. But half of me
Yeah.
was
No,
thinking,
yeah.
do I want to upload weekly stuff that I don't want to make? And I did upload a few videos that I'm really not proud of that were my weekly uploads. They did okay, some breaching 100, 200 views, which is the standard for my channel in general. Then I released a new one, which didn't do very well at all. And I was like, you know what? After that video not doing very well, something I didn't want to make and failing, I should just focus on what I want to make that does well
And
and then
yeah,
upload
pursuing
when
what
I
you're
can.
creatively interested in.
And last night we streamed. So what I was thinking of doing is streaming weekly and then making a big video whenever I can.
Yeah,
So
and that
I
sounds like
think
a plan.
2022 was a fantastic build up to where I am now, and I think that's the biggest thing I took away from 2022.
That was an amazing amazing what's the word? I wouldn't say digestion, but like it was amazing kind of
Almost
looking
like
at
a
what you've done.
timetable of it. I
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
really know what to specifically nitpick
There's a
from
lot, man.
2022
I think
because I think a
we've
lot
just went
happened, but a
through.
lot didn't.
Yeah, we've really went through this year, and we've just kind of tried to get in and out of it. Like I said, for me, the beginning of the year was horrible. I left my dad's for a week to go stay at my mum's. I went there initially for a couple of days, but I tended to be there for longer, and I did go there for longer. I was there for a week, and it was lovely. It was eye opening. I was happier there, and you remember this. I was saying you messages. I was happier there for a week. I felt
Mm.
happier than I had in like months. And my dad and being with him, especially in that close proximity. My dad was smoking drugs. Like he was drinking. There was a lot of things going on. It was really bad. Like before I left, especially, our relationship was being very much damaged because of it. Because like, you know, my dad's always had his drug issues and stuff like that. But like, he's had his own space to kind of do that. And as much as I don't support him doing that, You know,
At least it
it's
disassociated it with
yeah,
you two as
being there
father and
right
son, as
there.
opposed to
Yeah,
it being
yeah.
like in your face.
Yeah, and it was getting to a point like he was living at his girlfriend's house, and we were clearly overstayed our welcome. He wasn't. It felt like pushing to get a house and get us a place of accommodation, and then additionally on top of that, to make things harder, him and his girlfriend were fighting. He moved into my room pretty much full time, which was really awkward because he was. I mean, I remember in streams. And I've told my mom this. It's like I'm saying this here publicly, but I remember my father was smoking drugs, and we're not talking about weed. We're not talking about just something like that. I can deal with that. I
Skittles.
don't. Yeah, Skittles, exactly. But he was smoking some heavy drugs, and I could hear like I had my green screen up. This was before I got the proper green screen, as you know. I had like that thin like mesh that hung from the roof. I used to pin it up if you remember back in the day,
Yeah,
and
like the top.
behind it, yeah, I was streaming, and behind it, I could hear him doing it, and I knew what he was doing, and it was like I was choking on the fumes because the window wasn't open. It's a small room. You can look back in the
Yeah.
TFP episodes and you can see that my dad's girlfriend's bedroom, or my dad's girlfriend's son's bedroom, which is what the one I got. It wasn't very large, and I could hear him smoking away, and it was horrible. So things became very, very, very strained. And then I left my mum's, or left to go to my mum's for a week. This is again like February, just beginning. So just the start of 2022. It wasn't the best start. My savings had been tanked. My dad had spent all my savings. I had no money. I was kind of back to square one. I was starting to just try and get back up, but it was not easy. Especially now that he was living in my room with me, and my head was pickled. We were doing TFP, which was nice, but that was just kind of still upcoming. But we were doing good with that because that was kind of like the only thing I could really do aside from that and streaming.
Yeah, I remember
Um,
that being a big thing. Because obviously, when we were trying to plan stuff, we're both thinking, "Are we busy? Are we making content? Are we doing
yeah,
stuff outside of TFP?" But back then, it was really bizarre because it was always I could do TFP because you weren't
yeah,
doing anything else, which was really
yeah.
strange because you would always be doing. Even today, you were doing stuff before and you're doing stuff
Yeah,
after.
yeah,
And so
that's
am
it. But
I,
at
but
that
not
point,
to the same
I
degree.
wasn't. Yeah, but at that
Yeah,
point, I
of
just
course.
wasn't. I couldn't work on videos or do anything because, like, for one, I came through the whole that transition, especially in 2021. It was horrible because I'd went into the biggest burnout of my entire life with YouTube ever. I'd been entirely depressed. I was waking up like 7 o'clock in the day. My head, like I've got my memory vlogs about that. Like it was a horrible time. It was like not even to understate it. I swear to God, it was the worst time of my life, mentally and physically. And then again, coming out of that, 2022, beginning there, there's all that shit with my dad and all that kind of stuff going on. I came back after mum's for a week, and my dad eventually just got miraculously a house in another town, which was nice. I moved in there with him, and that's kind of where like episode 35 continues on from, as you know, of the podcast. That's Xavier's
Yeah.
episode was the first in there, because Joe, you just moved. Obviously, that was in 2022.
Yeah, we've had
You
actually a
you
proper plethora of
Oh
recording
yeah, no,
locations for a
yeah.
stagnant
Well,
podcast.
especially yeah. I mean, we go back for the older episodes, like pre-21, and you've got us in my old house, and you in your old house at your mum's, and then 21 is onwards to 34 is me and my dad's girlfriend's house, and you still in your mum's, and then
But
35 onwards for both of us is us both in your dad's house and me and my dad's new house.
yeah, but I think
Here.
I know it's like a pretty like a minuscule thing, sorry, but the whole idea that I love about the podcast and just putting stuff on YouTube in general or the internet in general is to log like history
Yeah,
almost.
where
Like
you're
I
at. Yeah,
really, even if there is low points and it's you don't want to be in those places at the time. I love looking back at it and being like, wow, my life was so different. Like looking back and seeing old episodes of me in my old house is so alien to me now, even though back then
hmm
that was like
that
the
was
go
it.
to.
Yeah, yeah. It is alien, but it's nice as well. Even though it's like might not be associated with the best of
It's
times.
weirdly
It's nice to be able
nostalgic.
to yeah, it's nice to be able to look at that. Like I remember going back to like episode 12 of our podcast with Planet Dragon, or even 11 with the fan that came to love me, Sean. Like those episodes where you could see my backdrop quite well, and it's like, oh, I remember that. That was kind of like when I was at the peak of my backdrop. I enjoyed it. I was happy
It's always the little
for
things
that
as well.
small
Like
time.
you start to realize, even like with both of us, like branding as well. Like I said, obviously mine's a
Oh
bit more
yeah,
recent, yeah. So like, obviously I've got all like this like stuff now, like the,
the
the
mask.
outfit, the mask, and the whole thing I'm going on with. But back then, I'm not sure if you remember, I used to have like the one lens glasses and the plaid shirts and
Oh yeah,
stuff.
that's
It
right.
was
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah. You had it. It was quite
and the
weird.
short
Looking at the
hair.
different.
It's really
Yeah,
weird,
it's
but
weird seeing that era. Like
yeah,
we're both
like
in different eras.
and the whole suit stuff. I would love to keep doing that. It's just
That just
it's
fell out
got
of
to.
that just fell out of it. That was just no longer what we
Like
done.
I would
That
still
was
do it. I think that with the mask would be a fantastic mix up. It's just keeping good care of a suit that consistently is
Dude, you
really
used to
hard.
hate it, man. I remember we were going to record TFP. You would hate getting in that suit and having to get like. I remember there was like times where I keep you waiting, like unintentionally, of course. It sounds like a
Yeah,
bastard,
of
but
course.
it
Yeah,
wasn't
I would be
intentional.
waiting in a suit, sweating
And
for about
dude, it
two
was
hours.
horrible, man. You were like, "Fuck, I hate this." I remember there was I think Xavier's episodes you in this suit, and there's a couple others, and you can see if people watch them. I think partially like it's some episodes, especially those ones in the 30s, you were going for a stressful time in life. There was a lot going on. So, I mean, I remember if Icy Opsy's episode.
Yeah,
I
I
remember
mean,
that like there was the behind the scenes of that. You'd actually left me in the call. It's the first time we've ever had this kind of thing. You dipped
yeah.
out entirely because you were just fucking pissed because this is all 2022 as well.
That
That you
that
had a
wasn't
lot
even
going on.
based off just the suit, but it was the
No, that
straw
was
that
just
broke
yeah,
the camel's back.
camel's
It's
back.
like
Yeah, yeah.
that was definitely, there has been a few times I've not had a great time in
Hmm.
general, and it's reflected in the podcast. Not in
Oh
like
yeah.
a bad podcast way, but in a
No, but
way
like
that's like noticeable. And if you're like
I think
looking
we
in,
pull it
you can
off.
kind of see it.
We pull it off
Yeah.
quite well because like obviously like even in Ices I'm trying to be funny. I had a headache and a migraine in that episode. You can hear it at the beginning, and that's not bullshit.
Yeah,
I
and I'm
just got
trying
a
to.
hot bath and
I'm
then I jumped out
angry,
to
but
go
I'm
record the
changing
episode.
it into like almost like humorous anger. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
oh,
and it,
you know,
yeah, and it was same with Xavier's. You were having issues with like the Wi-Fi and like you were getting pissed, and then
I
it was like, oh,
still to this day, have no clue why that even happened.
oh, but it was
Because
funny. It resulted in being one of our funniest episodes. I mean,
it was
we
funny,
both know that it was like
but I
lock
remember
dots.
sitting under my desk and being so angry about it because it's like there is no. It always annoys me if there's an actual problem. I don't mind that because I
Yeah, yeah,
know, oh, that's the issue. It's like yesterday when we were doing that. For anyone watching now, we did a Sons of the Forest stream,
we
and
tried.
for some reason there was a thing going around where about like I think it's like I don't know what the statistic is, but there's been a good amount of people having the same issue as me, and the
Yeah,
game just crashes every time you load into an actual game. So you can go on the main menu, you can go through all that sort of thing, campaign, etc. But as soon as you
yeah,
load into the game, there's like a loading screen that says Sons of the Forest. It gets halfway down, it crashes,
and then
and
bang.
ever since
And
then,
you were the
my
one
PC
experiencing
has
it.
been crying.
Yeah, I mean
So
the game's incredibly resource intensive to begin with. Like Hilo Soul is a good friend of ours, or Gabe. He'd actually bought the game for me, gifted me on Steam, and got Joe
and
as
me,
well, which was really
yeah,
generous of him. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, it's so lovely. But
it's about
then we all
60
streamed it
quid.
together. We streamed it yesterday, Wednesday it was for us, and we all streamed it, and it was going to be good. We had planned. All of us were like super like stoked and hyped for it. And Joe had actually quite cleverly said we should maybe load the game first and then start streaming while we're
Famous
on it to
last
see
words. We didn't
to
do that,
famous
by
last
the
words.
way.
Well, yeah, like, but we tried, nothing was working. It was working for me in Halo, but the game was incredibly resource intensive. My PC, which is new, was like buckling from it, and I was like, oh
Everyone,
shit.
including your chat, Helo's chat, and obviously Helo himself, were all saying like, "Oh, is your PC not good enough?" And yeah, that's a fair accusation to make. But I am playing Atomic Heart on max, like not a triple A game,
Graphical
but
settings,
also
yeah,
it's like that like Metro Exodus. It can run that. That is a triple A game with PC
yeah.
graphics at ultra, and it can't handle the Forest, the game
It's
where
so
gravity
peculiar,
doesn't
man.
work.
It's
Yeah,
so
it's
peculiar. It was a fucked up thing, but yeah, but it's been mad, honestly. I mean, 2022 for us, like I was saying there, like for me at the beginning, it was really turbulent. Then me and my dad got the house that we got, and that was really cool. I really liked that era when we first moved in. Things between me and my dad were still very fractured. Like there was still, I was at that point in time after I went to my mom's for that week that I left. This is the beginning of 2022. I was genuinely considering leaving my dad to go live with my mum because I was happier there. Everyone, Joe
you
included,
said that a
friends of
few
mine,
times to me. I
yeah,
thought you were going to do
everybody
it so
knew.
quickly.
Yeah, everybody knew I was happier there. And then I was there for a week, came back. My dad got the house. We moved in there, and that issue of us being too close finally kind of went away, which was nice. And I was able to get back to work, making videos, streaming the podcast. We had like season 3, what the 30s, obviously episode 30, obviously onwards. It was great. It was all going fine. And then more recently, it wasn't even more recent. It was like, well, June or July. I think it was in July. I ended up leaving my dad's again for a month because he threatened to break my eye sockets and break my jaw, and like he was going nuts. My dad was on fucking shit. My dad always a bit nuts. Like anybody who knows my dad in real life, knows that he's a bit kind of mad, a bit unhinged. Like I remember, like Joe, there was that time. I mean, we could talk about this. Happened, I think, in 2022. I think, but you had called my dad had called you accidentally trying to call me. You remember? Yeah,
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
like a
Okay,
off
so
camera story. This is
this
like
is this is
legit though.
quite
Yeah.
funny. Okay, we can share this. Okay, I really didn't know it was your dad, and I was out with two of my friends. So we were just hanging out in town, and I was actually about an hour before I get this phone call. Um, I'm like saying to our friends, like, "Are you guys like do you reckon like your numbers are going around in like some sort of like scam list? Because you know how scams work, right? Like
Yeah,
they
yeah. They
get your
give you like a
number,
list and
they
then it
circle
passes
it,
around.
whatever. So I've been getting a lot of calls like, oh, have you been in an accident that wasn't your fault, or like always heavy accents. Doesn't matter where from, very heavy accents. Um, so I get a call when I'm out in town, and, and I go, this is an unrecognized number. This is it again. I'm with my friends. This will be really funny if I give it to one of them to answer because I don't know this person. They're going to try and scam me.
Yeah, yeah.
The most angry Scottish man is like talking to me on the phone. He's like, oh, Joseph or Joe, whatever. I can't remember what he said, but one of those two variations. He said, I'm not sure what he calls you, but
Well, he calls me Joe normally, but like he'll say Joseph when he's pissed. Like it's the
yeah,
full name
it was
Joseph. So my mum.
Joseph, something like that. It
Yeah,
was clearly quite angry, and I was like, "Well, my name is Joseph. How do they know that? Like,
it's like
because
the
it's a scam call. Like, all right,
yeah.
but this is a bit weird now." So my friend is like, so he starts imitating this guy's accent. So imagine a really angry Scottish man
Oh,
yelling at who he thinks, just like he thinks that he's calling
me.
Joseph, as
He
in
thinks he's calling
Catman
me.
Joe,
Yeah, yeah.
because I'm saved in Joseph's phone as
As Joe.
my name, which is
Yeah,
also
yeah.
his name.
It's
So,
fucking confusing. Yeah.
so, so my friend, like, so this guy, so Joe's dad is like, Joseph, like in a really thick Scottish accent, really angry. Um, my friend's just sitting there. He's like, I'm trying like to like I want to imitate it, but I don't know if I can even do accents
Yeah,
anymore.
yeah. No, no,
But he's
no.
like, "Hey man," really going back at it, and he's like, "Oh, something about a kilt," and saying like,
Oh
we
shit.
don't buy kilts," and I'm like, just sitting there
My
losing my shit.
for context, right? What it to explain it? My basically, I have two of the exact same phone, right? I've got my phone. I've got here. It's a Moto G10, and I bought another one. It's like a replacement because mine's at one point I thought broke. It was just a charger port was a bit bent, so you can plug it into charge. And I like the phone. I need it for my work, so I bought two. My dad had my other one in. It had already been set with all my contacts and all that kind of stuff. But I given him it because his phone was cracked. So it had all my contacts, including Joe. Now, Joe on my phone, I have him marked down not as curious or my cynic. Joe and I have known each other for years, so I have Joe marked down as just Joe. But his profile photo is like the TFP logo, right? And my dad obviously tried to call me, and I've got like several different numbers because I was testing Wi-Fi's, and Joe knows this. I was going for a phase of like fucking switching numbers every week. But my dad, he basically, to cut long story short, he got in a fight with a bus driver.
I,
And
I remember you
what had happened?
telling me.
What had happened was like some bus driver was giving him sass on the bus or something, or the bus was running late. And my dad started calling the guy a prick and everything else under the sun, and the guy would go fuck you, and like they started kicking off. Anyway, like it got really bad, right? My dad was like chumming his girlfriend at the bus station, and this is where it happened and stuff. But he tried to call me to tell me what was going on, and to basically kick off at me about it, but like tried to call me, and it got Joe thinking it's me, and that's why it's got Joe Joseph. And my dad
And
just
then I
started
pass
losing
it to
his
my
shit.
friend,
Oh yeah, he
who
was
then
fucking with
gets
them. I mean,
basically imitated
and
for
mind
no
you, at
reason.
this point, my dad is psychotic down the phone. Like my dad is like fucking psycho. I'll fucking kill him. Like fucking fucking livid at the guy, the bus driver, and then now me. And it was not me. It's my mate's mate. But like he got back home that day because I was like, what the fuck? He got back home, or he called me. I think it was. He eventually got me and said, what the fuck's going on? I said, what do you mean? Oh, I fucking called. It's not me. What are you talking about? He got back home, and then I'd worked out when he got home, and he was pissed. He got home and he had to walk home because the
I,
bus driver wouldn't give him a lift back home.
I
So like,
remember
that's
I
why I was
remember
extra pissed.
later that day getting a text from you like, did you get a call
Was
from
that
my dad
you?
at all?
Yeah. Did
And
you
I
get a
was like,
call earlier from my
I,
dad?
I
Like, and
don't
you're like,
have your
wait.
dad's contact.
No,
Oh no.
it was fucked. I'd worked it out. He got back home, and while he was because he had to walk home, the bus driver basically what happened was the bus had been cancelled, and then the bus driver was getting sassed at my dad because the bus had been cancelled. So my dad's girlfriend couldn't leave the town, right? To go back to where she says. So she and my dad had to come back up the road to come back to the house, which is like a 10-minute, 15-minute walk, right? But they had to do that, and then he had to walk back up, and he's like psychotic, annoyed as fuck at this guy, and he couldn't get a bus back up. He got back in, and by the time he's got home, I've worked it out. Who could he called that would have done that? And I went, I wonder if he called Joe. So he got back in. I've asked him, and he said, "Oh yeah, don't fucking tell him not to fucking do it again. I'll fucking kill him." Like my dad was like, "I'll fucking kill him. I'll fucking kill." I'm like, "Dad, it was," and I was laughing. Like he's got in and told me I'm laughing even though he's psychotic, and I was laughing. He's like, "Don't you fucking laugh? It's not funny." I'm like, Like, chill. Okay, cool, cool,
It
cool.
was
But
pretty funny.
it was
It's just,
hilarious, man. It
it's
was
just,
fucking.
I love to imagine the idea of an angry Scottish
Oh,
man
dude, he was in the
having
bus
a
station.
row,
Dude, he was in the bus station, like
with a
schizoing
bus
down the phone at me.
driver, and he
Oh
goes, "You know
man,
what?
I'm phoning
I
my
need to
son.
talk to my son." And
Let me
he
tell him
calls.
about this so he can get annoyed as me. Like, he got home and told me, and I just laughed. Like, it's the bus driver said it wasn't even the bus driver's fault. What had happened was like the bus driver basically said, like, listen, the bus is cancelled because like there was a car crash, but they'd waited 40 minutes, and that's what got on. And he just went on a mad rant, and then he tried to call me, couldn't get me, got you fucked with him, and then he's called me again, and then kicked
It's
up with
great
me. It's
because
fucked.
it was me, and then I passed it to my friend. I literally
Yeah,
went. He was like, "Oh," he's like, "I was
there.
thinking about the bus, or I don't know why I
Yeah,
think
it
it
was
was
a
a
bus. That's what
tram,
it'll
but
be.
it was a
The
bus."
bus. It'll be a bus.
Um,
Yeah, that's what it was.
it's something about the bus. I remember going, "Who?" as I usually do,
Who?
and
Let's see. Who?
it's my favorite thing to do right now. It has been
Why
for
you
a
sign the
while.
fuck up?
Yeah, like, "Oh, I don't. He didn't let me on. He didn't let me on." And I'm like, "Who?" And then he's like, "Oh, Joe." And I'm like, "Well, that's
Oh
my
my
name. You
god.
clearly know me, but
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I
What is
don't know
going
who
on
you
here?
are. It's a Scottish
No.
number. I don't. Well, it's not a Scottish number. It's a
Scottish
Scottish person
accent and like what the
with an
fuck? Like who
accent.
is this guy?
I've had
Yeah.
plenty of these calls recently. Scottish, Indian, all of it, right?
You name it.
All
Yeah.
very thick accents. So I just assumed. So I then go, "All right, I've messed with you a little bit." Here you go. And then
Oh
my
god.
friend's just like, literally whatever he's saying to my friend over the phone, he's saying back to him.
Oh, my dad got back and he was psychotic. I'm telling you, like dead ass. Like he came back in the house and he was like ready to kick doors off hinges and shit. Like he was, dude. He was psychotic, and he was like, "What the fuck?" I'm like, I think I know who might have called, and I said, "Cause you didn't call me, obviously. It wasn't fucking me." Like, oh, I fucking tried. I was like, "You called the wrong number. Let me see." And it was like, it was you. And I went, "It was Joe, podcast Joe." Oh, tell me, fucking does it? I'll fucking kill him. Like, started scaring. I'm like,
I
no,
love it. Tell him if he does it again. He called
fucking
me.
you called him, yeah. Like that's how he's making it. Like you called him, like fucking, hey Stevie, how's it going? Let me just fucking take the shit out you. You know what I'm saying? Like it was brilliant, but like no. So anyway, though, I don't know how we went on such a fucking tangent. Jesus Christ.
It's such a
But, like
good story though. I
yeah,
loved it
it
so
is.
much.
It's a good story that happened in this year, so or last year, so we tell that. But like no, so 2022 though, I moved in with my dad as I was saying, and it was good for a bit, and then in June, well July, I left my dad for a month because my dad like my dad's been on drugs for a good while now, right? To tell everybody the truth, my dad's been on drugs for a good while now, not just like the small drugs. I'm talking heavy drugs. Now listen, I don't in any way condone it, but like my dad's the type of guy that I love him, but like you can't tell him not to do something. No, like you tell him not to do something, you do it 10 times more. Eve doesn't matter who you are, you'll say otherwise, but it's the truth. But my dad's been taking shit. He's drinking as well. Drinking's the worst. I don't like anybody who's grown up with alcoholic parents or drug addict parents understands that like drugs can affect your mental state for sure, especially things like cocaine and such. Like there's some drugs that don't really affect you in the same way. They can maybe mellow you out even, especially for someone like my dad. Like my dad is literally like bipolar, psycho, like he's schizophrenic, like not schizophrenic, but like he's bipolar. He's like
Just imagine
ADHD.
like a Borderlands bandit,
He's like literally like
but
unhinged. Like
Scottish.
my dad literally not even on a light form. I mean that like he is literally quite kind of fucking unhinged. Like
From
my
all the
dad is like
stories I've ever heard,
yeah.
it's always been the same
Oh yeah.
thing.
My
I'm not
dad
sure.
my
This
dad's
isn't. I don't think this is excessively personal. I mean,
mhm.
obviously, cut it out if you don't want me to, but I can't
No, you're good.
imagine why you wouldn't. I remember back in your documentary of the fan who came to live with me, didn't he go like ape shit over a pair of trousers? I know they were sentimental, but I think he went
Yeah, no,
mental, didn't he?
it was yeah, it was quite petty. If you watch that, there was like a pair of shorts my dad had, and they were like just a pair of like Lonsdale or whatever the brand was. It wasn't even that big, but even if it was a pair of shorts, and sadly they'd been ripped a little, and like that caused like a huge fucking kerfuffle. Like my dad, the smallest of things, my dad blows up. But I was living with my dad though for obviously I've been living with him for like past 10 plus years. But then we moved into this new place. Things were okay. I had my personal space again, which was like the main thing. So it was like, all right, this is good. I was able to start building my savings up. Joe knows this. I was starting to build my savings up, and that took a long time, but I got that done and started kind of dealing with things in my real life that had to be dealt with, like legal things and such. It was good. Things actually were on the up, but I always had this kind of small back idea of like I want to leave at some point, like not in a shitty way. Like I love my dad, but he is not well, and me being there isn't making me well. Like it's not good for my own personal health and my own
Sadness is
mental health.
really contagious, I reckon.
Oh yeah,
I think every
definitely,
time I've
man.
spent time around more negative people, it's
Mm-hmm.
been really hard to function. I think that's a bit of a side tangent. I think that's normal life and obviously creator life as well. Like when I start associating with people like Z Storm, who's excessively positive,
Oh yeah.
motivation has been up and all that sort of thing. But if I'm with other people who like think, oh, I can't do it, all that sort of thing, then you start to feel like, oh,
You feel the same, man.
depressed
You
and
fly with
stuff.
the
It's
crows, you get
awful.
shot with the crows, you lay down with dogs, you come up with fleas. It's the same kind of analogies, like the same kind of examples. And with my dad, like again, I love my dad, but my dad is like one of the most, like, how do I even put it? Like my dad is like, like king negative, right? Like it sounds kind of like, oh, Joe, you're fucking with us. Like, no, my dad
So you're a
was like,
cynic.
literally though, like every fucking day, there's nothing good, nothing positive. Like there's nothing at all ever good, nothing at all, like nothing ever good. I remember I got in one single night of streaming. This is an achievement of mine that I will forever hold dearly. Like it's not about just the financial aspect, but just because of how insane it was. I remember telling my mum, and she fucking praised me. She was like, "My God, son, well done." But I got £3,800 in donations in one night. Now,
That's
listen,
insane.
it's not about money. It's not about money. It's not about that. But the fact that that could happen for me was like an eye opener. Like this is possible. Like I always believe in my work. I believe this is always possible as a full time job and career. But that is insane amounts of money. I got the first £1,000, my first ever £1,000
Especially in one
donation.
night.
Oh, especially one night. I got my first ever £1,000 donation. I went downstairs. You can look back on the stream. Somebody could find it. My first ever time getting £1,000 donation. It was from my God. It begins with an oh. I'm so sorry. I'm forgetting it. But like
Oh
it
no,
was on my no. It's on my Instagram as well. But it's
your
like
O's
Polish.
been lost in the zeros.
Yes, that's what it is. Like no, but I got the donation. And it's kind of sad because when you know the full context, if you watch the stream and you go back, you go, that's fucking horrible. I got £1,000 donation and I was so emotional to an extent. I was like, wow, this is unbelievable. I was shaking. It was insane. I went downstairs to go tell my dad. I sat to the stream. I'll be back in a minute. I'm gonna go tell my dad because it was, my dad. It's I want to tell him my dad. My dad's whole life kind of thing. It seems like he only really cares about money. Money's like the thing that runs his life. If you're not fucking making money, you're a loser, right? And that's how I felt for a long time in my life. And that was
I
the hard,
find that a really weird
horrible thing. It's
stance for
horrible.
him to take
It's
as well,
horrible. Yeah,
because I know that
it's
he's
horrible, man.
taken a lot of your money.
Oh,
Like
dude, he tapped my savings. I'll talk about it in a second. It's bad, but like I got the £1,000 donation. I went downstairs, literally paused the stream, BR back, whatever, went away. Went downstairs, go speak to him and go tell him, like, Dad, like I just got this crazy donation. And you know what he done when I told him? Is that it? Was that it? Like Ken, like I give a fuck. That was his own words. Was that it? Like I give a fuck. You know what I mean?
This
And
is
like
why I
it
don't
was
feel bad about the phone call.
uh, no, and that, but like he totally belittled these. Like he totally like I came downstairs into the living room. He's sitting there, mind you, fucking smoking drugs, drinking himself fucking to death. He's doing nothing with himself. And my dad's a healthy man. Like I know plenty of people, my mom and other people that family members that are like in their 50s. My dad's just turned 50, right? I know people that are in their 50s that are unfortunately dealing with fucking horrible arthritis, are unable maybe to do what they used to be able to do. They don't have the same energy. And my dad's got his own issues, but my dad is one of those individuals who genuinely has the energy to do good. Like he
Which
can go
makes it
out for
even
work.
worse.
Yeah. And my dad is playing the pity card of like pity, 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 pity. Poor me, poor me, poor me, poor me, poor me. And my dad gets more than most, to say the least. But I went downstairs and I went to go tell him, and I was so happy. You imagine the emotion. I was so happy. So like, I can't wait to tell him just to hear like, well done, son. Went in and it was just, is that it?
Just for
Fuck
contrast as
off,
well. I mean,
type of
you would
thing.
think any amount of money you make online would be such an
Dude,
achievement for even your parents to hear. Like, I remember when I told my dad
it's
about Hilo's £80 donation that he gave me, and he was like, "Oh my god, like for doing
and that,
what?" And I'm
dude,
like,
and
"That's insane."
it's an amazing feeling, man. Like, and to get that kind of respect back, like for me, you got to remember, like my dad took me out of fucking high school before I even could do my exams because he wanted to go to Ibiza and paint villas, which never fucking happened. We went to Ibiza for 2 weeks, camped on a beach because he didn't want to pay for fucking a tent, or he didn't want to pay for a hotel. Excuse me. We camped on a beach and tents while my dad was smoking drugs and getting drunk every night. We had to watch him, me and my buddy Ali, like my stepbrother, my dad's girlfriend's son. God love him. We had to fucking watch my dad at night and make sure that he wasn't getting mugged by the fucking Moroccans. Like that shit was horrible, man. I got like fucking blisters and burns on my chest, my back, the whole thing from camping on a fucking beach, the whole thing. But my dad like is such a wido that he does all these horrible fucking things, man. But like no, like that was at 2022 though. Like things were all right. I said we moved into like this house. We had a house together. He was still on and off, especially when he drunk. He was so erratic. He was threatening people, family, friends, like everybody. He was being so shitty. But then June or July came around, and like his dad had just passed away. My grandfather, God love him, right, God rest his soul. But he passed away. My grandfather was dealing with cancer for about 2 years. It was, I think it was like, yeah, it was about 2 years. Horrible thing, cancer's a fucking bitch, right? But like, he'd been dealing with cancer for 2 years, and that had happened, right? He had passed away. This is like just near, not long after my dad's birthday or something like that. And I decided, instead of going to my mom's for a month, then I decided to stay, or to go see my mom then, because I was gonna go visit her for a week or whatnot. I decided, no, I'll stay with my dad, keep him comfort, whatever. Done that, and then I said, a bit later on, about June, I'm pretty sure June or July, I think it was July. Um, Again, I went out that day, went shopping for him, bought all the shopping, paid for all the foods. I went and brought the food. I walked all the way down to the store, bought all the food, bought all the shopping, carried it all back up, came back home. Mind you, the entire time I'm out, we were sitting drinking in the garden, sunbathing with the neighbors and fucking about. But I went down, went shopping, came back, went upstairs, unpacked everything, put it all away. Didn't eat at all. I was barely eating, but like, it was just because, like, it was whatever. Went
We spoke about
upstairs.
that quite a lot, actually,
Oh
didn't we?
yeah,
Like the food
oh
thing.
definitely,
We're both like saying
yeah,
like, I know this is I don't recommend this to anyone, but me and Joe aren't. Well, we are now. We're quite active. We both go to the gym now, don't we? So
yeah, yeah.
it's
Now,
different.
yeah, we can talk about
But
that.
back
Yeah,
then, we both weren't very active because we didn't have the
active,
time
no,
to, or
yeah,
motivation or money.
yeah.
And we just wouldn't eat because it's like you don't need
we
the
we both
energy.
we've do with that saying, we both also dealt with like body, like issues. Obviously, like you said, at one point you were a bit
Yeah,
overweight. I've been
I've been
overweight for
slightly
you.
overweight and I've also been drastically underweight. I'm still
Yeah,
suffering from being
I,
drastically
yeah.
underweight. Like I've got you can still see like my bones and shit sticking out in certain bits. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna obviously show you. This is quite common. A lot of people have this sort of thing.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
my
I'll get
collarbone
that.
and my hips are very like the bones
Predominant.
protrude a little bit.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
I'm a lot better than I was.
But
It's
like,
very
it's
like
that
a
like body dysmorphia or whatever. Like, when you see, it's not
yeah.
like that. That's a bit extreme. But like, we've dealt with body issues and stuff, whatnot. But anyway, but no. So I came back that day, put away all the food, went shopping, bought it all, whatever. My dad's still outside drinking. I went and streamed for hours up on Twitch, working away streaming. I say working because it is working away streaming. I finished my stream and I get a call with Ree, because Ree's like my best friend. We talk all the time. Get a call with her for about 20 minutes or 15 minutes after the stream, and just chatting. He comes in for being outside drinking all day. It's like maybe not even 12 hours of drinking, but like, it's like maybe 8 or 6, at least 6 plus. I know, maybe 8 or 9, right? Comes in, and then he starts kicking off at me from the bottom of the stairs about how dinner isn't made and how he's going to make dinner and how that's fucking outrageous. I'm not your slave. And I'm like, I never said you are. Like, I'd rather not eat for the night. I'd rather starve than have any sort of confrontation. I'd rather avoid it. But starts kicking off, starts ranting, start raving, and it gets to the point where he starts threatening me at the bottom of the stairs, and I'm up at the top, obviously, just came out of my bedroom. Starts threatening to break my eye sockets, to break my jaw, break my nose, whatnot. Oh, you lucky my son, or I'd fucking kill you, dude. And like he's growling at me from the bottom of the staircase. Ree heard it, I heard it, obviously. And I mean, she's on the phone panicking. Well, what the fuck's going on? You know what I mean? She's heard him before kicking off on the
And then
phone.
literally
She's
same
close.
day you update me on this as well. And
Yeah.
I remember just saying like, why the fuck are you still there? Like
Yeah, man. No, that was
respectfully.
it. Well, that was it, exactly. And then what I done though was, right after that, I started packing my shit. I packed my stuff. Only a few things though, because I didn't have a lot. But that I could pack. I didn't even have a fucking bag properly that I could pack. But I packed some stuff, and I ended up leaving my dad's. And I left for a month and was away for a whole month. And it was actually crazy being away for a month, but it was so fucking nice. I wasn't able to work on YouTube stuff. I didn't have a laptop at this point, but I bought a Nintendo Switch so I could sit and play games on that. I actually got a proper job for like a little bit, like it was like a week. Like, I worked for like four or
Yeah,
five
you did
days.
like a little
Like,
demolition thing, didn't you?
yeah,
You're
yeah, it was like I
making
was
like a
smashing
decent amount a
kitchens and
day though.
shit. Yeah, it was like £60 a day or £70 a day. It was like just a little bit extra money because I was earning no money, and I bought a Switch and bought myself some other little bits. But it was honestly so nice. I remember speaking to Coda and you and others, and like, nobody heard from me for like a month. I was speaking to just you and Coda and Ree and like a few maybe other select people, but I was so much happier, man. Like, I swear to God, like, I felt infinitely happier. It was like having a noose around your neck and then immediately having it letting off, because my dad wasn't controlling every aspect of my life.
Yeah,
And
it's just a
like,
weight off your
that's
chest, isn't
unreal.
it? You don't have to sit at
Yeah,
home and be like, well, I've got to work, and if I do
yeah,
work, I'm going to get slated for it. But
yeah.
it's ridiculous as well because you've told him that, oh, I've made a grand, off YouTube, and he's like, "Where's my dinner?" Like it is a ridiculous
Dude,
balance of
the only
standards. Because
just to,
one, you could have made food afterwards. Two,
oh
you
yeah,
don't have to make him goddamn food. And
no,
three,
no,
he's
no.
a grown man. He could do
Just
it
to
himself.
clarify, just for context, for anybody who's listening, going this, but yeah, he's not your slave, he's your dad. Totally. My dad and I had an agreement, whether he wants to acknowledge it or not. We did. The agreement was I don't know how to cook, right? I can cook now, like I'm learning how to cook. I'm not a great cook or a chef. I literally learned like at the beginning of this
Don't
year how to
worry, I'll
fucking
make a
make
bomb toasty.
I learned how to make at the beginning of this year fucking scrambled eggs, right? Like that shows you how like very mediocre I am. But the reason why I'm very mediocre is for one, my dad's never let me really learn. Like he will say otherwise, but he hasn't let me learn, right? But then for two as well, my dad does the cooking, right? My dad's actually a really good cook. He likes his food. He likes making good food, and he can cook. So we had the agreement that like I do the dishes. I do the dishes every day. I clean the kitchen, right? I take out the rubbish. Initially it was like cutting the back garden, front, whatever, like little chores, right? But I do the dishes and stuff. He does the cooking. He cooks, I clean. He cooks, I clean. You know what I mean? And I'm paying for the food as well. Bit more of a if I'm paying for the food and cleaning the dishes, fucking yeah. I mean, cook. We're not. I'm not talking about my dad's cooking like some fucking 5-star cuisine either, right? My dad literally was just making frozen food, like chips, 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 and fucking chicken. Like he would maybe on the odd occasion make an omelet. Like, yeah, if you know how to make an omelet, it's not fucking like a chef fucking Gordon Ramsay, right? Not trying to belittle his cooking, but it's like you're not doing like insane fucking meals.
It doesn't
But
stand up to a balanced
no,
deal, does it at all?
no, exactly, exactly. But like anyway, so he threatened me. I left. I left for a month. Eventually, I came back though because, for one, all my equipment was there, and I needed that. I literally said, "Oh, I'm not coming back" at one point, and he didn't acknowledge my texts. All this happened, but then he was also starving himself. His girlfriend told me like this is how like fucked up it was. My dad's relationship with me. He was starving himself, wasn't eating apparently, and just taking drugs. So he was losing drastic amounts of weight. And he always fluctuates in weight, especially drugs and stuff. But like it was really fucking bad. And then I went back though after that month, and it wasn't the worst in the world. It could have been worse. You just see one of the panels.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got afraid. I was like,
I,
oh my
I
god,
I
like
really tried to like keep my composure. I was like, this is
no,
really
no, yeah,
serious.
no, yeah,
The
but like
panel's
the
trying to like
panels.
self
For
commit.
anybody watching, I say this on streams now. When my panels fall to wall, I've got 72 of them, and they fall off the fucking walls like every. I come in, there's like 15 off every day. Like
You
it's a
can see
game.
like the
Fuck off.
lines of glue or whatever you've put up there, double-sided tape. The other one's gonna go,
Double-sided
isn't it? Look
tape.
at it.
It's double-sided tape. I'm telling you. But no. So like anyway, though, I
They
left
all
for a
just
month. I
fall
came
down
back.
slowly now.
Yeah, that's what everyone, and that's what will happen. I swear, the next ones will come down in a minute. But like, no, I left for a month. I came back, and then nothing had changed. I found out from a friend of his that he actually was gloating about the fact that he had my equipment, and that he's gonna have to come back. Like that was how sick it was, and it was horrible, man. I went back, and after I heard that from his friend and stuff, and I heard some other things, I went, no, I don't. I want to leave. My current goal when I came back after them was now to try and find the optimal time to leave when it would be best for both sides, but mainly for me, of course. I've got to think about me. It's not selfish. It's a fact. I've been with my father for 10, 12 years now at this point. I love him, but my dad has fucking used and abused me. Like, and on a genuine, he's been my father, right? But from like the age of 16 onwards, life went fucking downhill to a point that was unreal. My dad was on drugs left, right, and center. He was drinking at one point extremely. Like back in 2018, you can go back on my channel and find there was a stream of mine that I done. I think it was even my vlog channel. It was like a stream I done, which was like on the Survival Island that I done. I had like a series called the
Yeah,
Survival Island on the vlog channel.
that was yeah, it was the vlog channel. Yeah,
Yeah, before Sean had came to come see us on 2018, no joke, I was like grounded as an 18-year-old man who was paying all the fucking bills and whose money was paying his drug habit. Because every bit of money, like 2018, 19, especially 19, I was earning a lot of money from YouTube. It's like I was earning quite a bit of money because obviously my videos were popping off and I was doing well. And I was saving that money because I don't ever spend it. I don't buy myself fancy clothes. All the clothes I buy really mainly like cheap stores. I'm just that way. I'm not like a very materialistic kind of guy in terms of like I need like Adidas or Nike. I like to have nice little things, but not a lot. I'm not very silly like that. But I was saving my money, and my plan was to buy a good PC and buy all the stuff that I wanted brand new because I'd worked hard enough to get it. And then my dad just spent all those savings. But yeah, anyway, what had happened though, I came back after a month. I was there for a few months. Shit had just kind of started to deteriorate more. My dad was now spending more money on drugs of his own money. Thankfully, it wasn't mine, but he was spending more money of his own, more of his own money on drugs. He was getting more erratic. He was being silly. There was like I've got recorded things of him like threatening me. It was getting bad. Like it was really, really, really getting bad. I couldn't phone my mother while I was in the house. I'd have to go out, and I was getting basically timed when I went out. Like I would go to the shops, and like it wasn't like he actually had a stopwatch, but if I was longer than say 20 minutes, he'd go, "Where have you been? You get lost? Like it would be a
I remember you
question."
telling me this as well. You were like, I remember you saying like, "Oh, I don't feel I can go out anywhere without being like
No,
monitored
no,
almost."
dude,
It's
literally,
ridiculous.
yeah. I caught him listening in at my phone calls at the bottom of the stairs. Like he was trying to hear what I was saying to Ree or my mom or anyone else speaking. Of which my mom, it wasn't my mom. It was like Ree and others. It was
It's
really fucking
virtually
weird.
stalking. So
Literally, man,
yeah,
literally. He was reading my mail because when his father passed away, he got money, inheritance money, and it got put on my card because he didn't want to put on his card. So then he had basically full control of my banking. He was reading my bank statements, and like it got really fucked up. And then by the end of it, though, it was at a point where like he was threatening me. I felt like I was in fucking prison, man. Like I've never been to jail. Like I've been locked in the cells overnight. That's it. But I swear I feel like I was in fucking prison because no joke. Like I was. I remember when I got back from my mum's after that month, I literally cried. Man, like for the first 2 days, it was horrible. I had a jumper like the same as this. It was a grey one. I wore on streams and stuff many times, even in the podcast, right? A grey jumper like this. I was like at night chilling with that. I know it sounds super fucking sad, like and super like weird and petty, but like no joke, it was just like I was like fuck, like I miss my mom so fucking much. It felt like a family there. I came back from my mom's to my dad's, and it wasn't like I was going back to a home. I was just going back to our room. That was it. I sat in my room and I just worked and worked and worked and worked and worked and continued to build savings and
I
worked and
think
worked.
sometimes things like that just build up and it breaks down so
Oh
easily.
yeah,
People don't
no, that
realize
was
it.
it.
Like, obviously nowhere near the magnitudes of your issue. I've been stressing quite a lot recently about my job, and I'd say about 2 weeks ago, I had the same sort of thing happen, but I did it in front of my mum. And I do love my mum to pieces, but she's
Oh yeah,
never
of
ever
course.
been uh directly affectionate and sympathetic over this sort of thing before, but she was really sympathetic, and that was quite nice for once, and that felt quite nice. But I understand what you mean about the whole going back to a room thing. Like, I obviously live here with my dad now,
Hmm. Yeah,
but whenever I go back to my mum's and I sleep there, I just feel miserable because the
yeah,
room just reminds me of a lot of me just feeling awful. Not
yeah.
like because there's any bad scenario, but I think
But
I've
it's
struggled
just,
in the past
but
and
like,
stuff, and it lingers.
but you see what I mean though. Like you going back into that room, it's not like that's you feel the same comfort in this bedroom that you're in right now. Like in this bedroom, that's your home. You understand me? Like
Yeah.
that's a home. You feel comfortable in there. When you go back to that room, it's just a room. That's how I felt like when I went back from my mum's to my dad's. I went back into that room, and one of the key reasons I went back was because I missed my work and I missed all my equipment and I need to get back to work. And I went back, and I no joke, I've got the text. I can fucking read it. I said to my mum, I don't know what I came back for. Like I sat there in fucking tears, man, because I was like, I just came back to a prison. I like it's so much easier to say you're leaving when you're already left or when you've already left, but see when you're in it and you try and leave, oh shit, that's fucking a challenge. That's a real fucking challenge. If you've ever been in like especially like an abusive relationship like that, if you try and say to the person, I want to leave, no, that becomes a fucking hindrance. That becomes a big issue. Like they'll make your life a million times harder to leave. And that's why I couldn't say a word to my
Abuse is
dad. I couldn't speak with him.
often
Nothing.
possessive, which
Oh
is
yeah,
why it's scary because
yeah.
because they make it about them, which is very prominent in this case as well, isn't it?
Oh
Because it's
yeah.
like, oh, my son wants to leave. He wants to take all of
My
my stuff
son,
away when
my
it's
things,
you.
my yeah, like my dad's actual mindset for me was like I'm his, like he came from I'm his father. He's my son, and I was like, no, I am his son, but I'm not owned by him. Like it was so hard for him to grasp understanding that I wanted to be a YouTuber. Oh, you're fucking wasting your life. You're flinging your life away, sitting in a closet, kind of thing. Like not in a closet in a weird like sexuality. I mean, he meant like as in like a wee square
I don't
bedroom
think
kind of thing.
anyone was thinking that.
Just to clarify, because I know it sounds a bit weird, right? But like a fucking waste your life away,
On an
fucking
unrelated note, this year Joe
talking to
came
weirdos
out.
online. Yeah, of course, yeah. But like, no, no, but like talking to weirdos online and shit. I'm like, Dad, they're good people, and these weirdos are the people that were fucking giving me donations, that were fucking funding your drug habit. So shut the fuck up,
it,
kind of thing.
obviously not in a as a negative way, but it is interesting to see older generation's perception on that sort of thing.
Yeah,
Once again, Helo's generation, although my dad was like, oh my god, that's really proud, I'm happy that you've done that, I'm happy that you've made money out of something you enjoy doing. The
I think I
£80
think it's
donation is
yeah,
pretty huge, but they also, but before and after that, it was like, does he want to be with you, or like, does he want to sleep with you, or something like that, because they
yeah,
just assume that everyone wants to groom you if they're randomly nice to you.
yeah.
um it's bizarre. Like,
I think it's not even just a generational thing. Like, see, my mother. My mother's older than my father by like a couple of years. When I told my mother about the whole donation thing, you know what she said? She didn't go, "Oh, is that it?" She didn't do some shit like that. She was like, "Son, I'm so fucking proud of you. My God." She went, "What?" She went, "You know what she said? It was funny. I'll never forget." She went, "I'm coming down next, like it was sometime in the future, like a few weeks." She's like, "I'm coming down. You can pay for lunch." Laughing. I was like, "Oh no, definitely." You said like, "I'll pay for lunch. I'll get us lunch, of course." Like that's what it's about. And I remember saying on stream, I'm gonna get my mom lunch. I'm taking her out and stuff. She came down in October with some Halloween stuff, got Halloween gifts for me and stuff like that. And that's when we were doing the Halloween season of TFP, and it was lovely. And then I was going to go see her again before Christmas, which I done. But it was just very chaotic, man. My dad and I had a very weird relationship, and I said I came back, and then it was just kind of for like from then till like kind of October, November, I was kind of like steadily getting ready to leave. I'd messaged people. I met with my buddy Dylan in December, and we said I told him privately, went for a meal. I couldn't tell my dad. This is how petty my dad is. I couldn't tell my dad I was going for a meal with my buddy Dylan, or else he would have got annoyed because I'm going for a meal with him. Like my dad
what
got
did you
annoyed at
tell
the
him
fact
instead?
we went out for a walk. My
All
dad was
right.
annoyed when Dylan was coming down to come see me. Dylan had to get the bus down to come see me at my dad's, right? He got the bus down, and my dad was annoyed at the fact he wouldn't get the bus down and then get another bus up to our house to come up and sit in the house all day with us. Because I was like,
Well, so we
I'm
can
gonna go.
spy on you.
Literally, I was like, I'm gonna go meet Dylan at the bus station, and we're gonna go for a mess about, walk about, go to the shops. Can he not get the bus up here? Like, I went, yeah, no, of course he can. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's
Well,
not the
then why
point.
doesn't he? And I went, well, just he's coming down. It's only polite. I go, reciprocate. I go meet him and mess around. Oh, fucking hell! And he slammed the door on me because my friend wasn't coming up to play with him, basically, and not in a weird, but in that sense. Like that was the mindset of it. It was fucked. Even see my mother. The first time I went to go see my mother came down to my dad's town to come see me. We went for a meal, right? I went to go see her. I'm going to go see her. He was so upset and annoyed, like bitter, fucking bitter, like unbelievable. I was going in to go have a meal with her, right? But he ended up when I came back from seeing her, I went shopping, bought him and I the whole house full of food, just try and kind of be on his good side when I came back from seeing my mother, going up for a meal with my mother, God forbid, right? But I came back and he locked the door and wouldn't let me in, and then pretended he wasn't home. While I was calling him, he turned off his phone. He was pretending. I could hear him at the spy hole behind the door looking at me, waiting for me to call my mother to be like, "Mom, he's not in. I fuck him. Do. But he was sitting listening, and then eventually came and opened up the door. Oh, I was sleeping. It's like, bud,
Honestly, what
you
you should have done is like actually did call your mum and be like, "Oh, you know what? He's not doing it," and actually just pissed him off. Or what you should have
no,
said,
it would have caused
"I'm
it.
leaving
Yeah,
my number, my new phone, my new number. I'm changing lives. I'm gonna put it under the door, and then you just leave my number again, and then
yeah. You just put a phone. Oi, it's
who?
like, nah, who? But like, no, like, it was fuck, man. And then obviously, we're getting up. This is kind of catching everybody up now. We're kind of going through it kind of roughly, but like then up till December recently, December 19th, actually be specific. I left on the Monday just before Christmas. Don't remember Monday stream, and then on Tuesday I left fully because I was gonna go. I was doing my theory test on a Wednesday. You remember this, Joe?
Yeah,
Because Joe had done his theory test, and you'd passed, of course, which was great. Finally got that.
yeah. Theory is a pain, but when you get
Oh,
past it,
heavily.
it's done.
It's
It's
so much
just
better.
about
Yeah,
trial and error and booking
yeah.
stuff.
Well, I've been doing revision for about 2 months since the October time. I started getting into reading and stuff like that, and was doing well, get myself in healthy habits. And even though I wasn't going out working out, I was still keep myself healthy mentally by doing these things. But then I got the theory testing booked and stuff, and I made that as a bit of an excuse to go see my mother. I wasn't intending to go live with my mother. That's where I'm at now, obviously, right? But I wasn't intending to go live with my mother. My intentions literally were just to go and do the theory test and come back home for the Christmas time. I wasn't intending to leave at that point in time. But what had happened, as fate does, fate works mysterious fucking ways. I went to go see my mother on the Tuesday, been there Tuesday, then the Wednesday, done my theory test. I passed, it was great, awesome. Told my dad, he was super happy, whatever, we were all cool. Then on the Thursday, I was going to be there, and then on the Friday, I was going to come back home that day with my presents my mum had gave me after seeing some family, and then go back home. And then Christmas was on the Sunday. I was going to come back home on Friday, probably go shopping, get food for my dad and me for Christmas, and then spend Christmas at my dad's. But I caught the flu. I caught the flu. The first time in my entire adult life I'd ever had the flu. I was in the big city, of course. I'm going to
You
catch
ended
it.
up
I caught.
staying all of Christmas, didn't you? Like ill with the rest of the family.
I was bedridden. I couldn't fucking. My mom, her boyfriend, me were all bedridden. My mom, God love her, she had that fucking mother, like that mama bear kind of strength where she could get themselves up and
You
do
just pull
shit. Like,
through and help
yeah,
people.
my mom, yeah, and that's what she was doing. She was like tending to fucking me and her boyfriend and stuff, make sure he's all right and I'm okay. But I was bedridden. I was fucked. I couldn't eat for days. Couldn't enjoy Christmas dinner. Didn't even eat on Christmas. I barely think it was horrible, man. Right,
I
but.
think we both had a really unique Christmas actually. Like it was my first one here, living here.
Mhm.
Um, I don't want to sound like an asshole. I
Oh,
really
go ahead.
don't.
I'm intrigued. I know. I'm intrigued.
I I think because it was so different and away from what I was used to,
Mhm.
it didn't feel like it at all. Like I'm not a massive person on celebrations, but typically what we would used to do is we'd go down to my nan's or mum's and they would all come round and well, I mean, it's a bit more difficult now because now like my granddad has passed and he was a big part of Christmas. But I didn't go and see my mum's lot until the 29th, and the 29th for me felt like Christmas and not the 25th. um
Yeah.
I don't know, because it was weird. I'm so used to being woken up by loud Christmas music and all that sort of thing, really early. But I just slept until 11, and then
Wow.
like that was about it. And then it was
It
like,
was a
oh,
very different experience.
here's your few presents. Open them whenever you want. I'm like, okay, thank you. I'm grateful for that, and I do appreciate a more chilled atmosphere because I am very much like I don't like big celebrations. Like my 18th birthday is by far my least favorite birthday I've ever had. I hated my 18th so much; it made me miserable.
Jesus,
I
really?
think we covered that before. I think we did that in a last. I think
I
we
don't believe
did.
we did.
No, do you want me to go over again?
I go over. Maybe you'll
Uh,
rejog a little bit.
I'll just do like a little brief one. Basically, I really don't like being the center of attention when it comes to like celebration, right? Because
Yeah.
it's like my ideal birthday is like, I don't know, I wake up, I have a breakfast I like, I have presents. If people get me any, if not, I don't really care. I don't really care for that too much. Spend it probably with Lucy or playing a new game or a game that I really enjoy, like Assassin's Creed Black Flag. That's like my all-time favorite. Um, and then I don't know, just chilling, reading, maybe even sitting at a cafe. I love that sort of thing. That's the sort of thing I always do.
Yeah.
That's enough for me because I don't really care about my birthday. But no, my mum took me out to Nando's, and I love Nando's. It's my favorite thing to go out and eat. That's fantastic. However, it was one of those days where when it feels like it's for for everyone else and not for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, oh, it's your 18th. You need to do this, and it's like, no, I don't.
This isn't what I wanted to
Um,
do. Yeah.
and my mum, bless her, I know it was like good intentions,
Good
but
intentions
she
behind it. Yeah.
but she got like a cake made. I will not share it because it actually makes me miserable to think about. But she got a cake made and it was quite atrocious.
Oh God.
And then she got it showcased and she got the people to bring it over to me, like in the
Oh.
restaurant. I'm
Oh.
18. Um,
Yeah. It's not like a
and
little kid kind of thing.
yeah, and I just felt so embarrassed and I hated it so much to the point where I broke down afterwards. Um,
Oh, dude.
yeah, and I was just like, I hate this. Um, but I think she realized on my 19th, which was recently. Obviously, what is it now? It's like March now.
March now. Yeah.
So
Close to it.
3 months ago was my 19th, and my mum actually took me out to a cafe. We had food. That was it, and that
That's
was
nice.
nice. Um,
That's all it
but
is.
I
That's all
hate
you
my
need.
18th, and then same sort of thing with Christmas. Like it's kind of like I did kind of ask for a more toned down thing, and I got that here at Dad's, but because it's so different, I
You
was
still
kind
haven't
of
really
like,
adjusted. Yeah.
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 So I don't know. I think it's one of those things where I feel like I'm at that stage now where Christmas is a thing that I need to enjoy with myself, or wait till I'm with my. Like when people go through that stage in life where it's kind of like you enjoy Christmas growing up as a kid because you're with your parents, and that's like the
Yeah.
magic of it, the magic of Christmas. Then I think
Yeah.
it dies, and then you wait until you're with a partner or
Hmm.
their family, and it kind of like you have to transfer. Because I once spent, I think it was not. I think it was 2 Christmases ago. I spent it with Lucy's parents, and that felt like Christmas. That was really nice. But I think that's because I was with people that were new, and obviously I love Lucy and stuff. So it's kind of like an
Hmm.
atmosphere. I don't know how to explain it. My perception of events is quite strange, but I don't know. It was stressful. It wasn't the same. Is what I'm basically trying to say. But yeah,
Yeah.
the 80th birthday was actually vile, and it makes me miserable to think about.
Gosh
Um,
damn, man.
I will tell you what the cake is after,
After,
because
yeah, yeah.
it's something that like probably isn't that bad, but it's something I don't want people to know about because it actually makes me crease. Um,
God.
but yeah, I don't know. It
We'll
is what it
find out
is.
after.
But
We'll find out
we
after,
both had
yeah.
a bizarre Christmas. Anyone that
Yeah.
watches the extended version of the podcast when they originally come out, we'll leave it in, and then you can have it. We'll
You
do
can,
that.
yeah, extended version, that's how you're gonna get it.
It
But no,
probably
like,
isn't that
so,
bad, but yeah.
no, probably not in hindsight. I'm intrigued to know, but probably isn't. But no,
Yeah.
like, when it comes down to, I mean, my Christmas was horrible. I had the flu, and then it was nice. So, I mean, I spent with my mum, and that was like the first time in like over 10 years I'd done that. And my mum, it was lovely. We sat there, and she was ill, our boyfriend was ill, I was ill, but we still had a nice Merry Christmas. Then on my birthday, it was nice. But as I caught the flu, and then I told my dad, "Oh, I can't come back for Christmas. I've got the flu." It was literally no intentions of not coming back. But as I had the flu, he was chill. Yeah, well, I had a Christmas with your mum in a long time. Enjoy it. I went, oh, that's quite civil. That's good. Whatever, right? But I enjoy Christmas, and then as it got towards New Year, he just started becoming a bit of an ass again. On New Year, I remember wishing him a happy New Year at midnight. I messaged you and a few other friends and
Mhm.
stuff, and my dad especially and whatnot. And he went, "What's there to be happy about? There's next to be happy." And it was like so bitter, and I was like, "Dad, it's fucking happy New Year. Come on, like,
It's a
you know."
gesture.
Yeah, it was just horrible, man. And then as I kind of was getting over the flu, it was kind of more sunk in a little of like, before we make any rash decisions to go back home, remember how hard it is to get away when you're in it than it is to when you're out
Mhm.
of it. Like if I go back home, it'll take me another maybe 6 months. Like, remember, I was there in like July. I was at my mum's, went back after a month, and I was like stuck there. How horrible I felt and stuff, but I was stuck there from July to like fucking November, December, and then it was like go see my mum, and I left again. And I thought about it, I thought about it, and went, well, I've got a bit of savings I saved up, as you know, and I've kind of prepared. I have prepared for this, thankfully. I've not got everything. I didn't leave my dad's with my PC and everything. I literally only I brought my laptop, and I intended to go back. I was like, he believes I just like, now he thinks, oh, he was planning this. If I'd fucking planned it, I would have brought my files I need for my PC. I would have brought fucking other things. Like, I didn't
Hence
plan this
why
all the
we
time.
don't have the
An
intro
intro,
to this
yeah,
podcast anymore.
great, because I can't get my fucking PC for my dad. But anyway, though, I eventually came to a decision and made a decision. I went, I don't want to go back. This is it though. This time, I don't want to go back. I'm not gonna fuck it up. I don't want to go back. I told him. I sent him 3 texts saying it. He didn't acknowledge them at all. And then eventually, I got on a phone call with him and told him, and he said, "Oh fuck you, did it? Call me a rat bastard. Did it all this shit, man. It went downhill. Since then till now, shit has kind of further escalated. My dad and I are not on the best of terms, and that's why I might sound like I'm speaking poorly of him today to a lot of people that listen to this. I mean, by the time this goes out, it could be a little bit later on. Who knows what's
It's not
going on?
really
But
poorly if it's what's happened, though. It's not like
it's the
you're
truth,
like
though.
downplaying it.
It's the truth, man. It's the truth. And like, even at the minute now, to give context to anybody watching, I'm sure people that watching this who know me know already the situation. I've had to spend upwards of over £3,000 to have to buy a PC, to have to buy monitors, to have to buy cameras, lights. No joke. Fucking like all my savings tanked to go to fucking this. And it's because my PC and all the other equipment that I'd spent years working to get, Joe knows this, years working to get. I didn't have a job of any time. It was just YouTube. All that equipment, all that time, all of that is at my dad's, and I can't get it because my dad says I can, but I can't. He never gives me a date to go pick it up. When I went to go pick it up one time, when I went down there, drove down in the car, arranged transport, went down to go pick it up unexpectedly because I knew if I told him I was coming, he wouldn't let me get it because he was saying that he'd moved to a whole new part of the UK. He, like, literally saying that he moved to a whole new part of the UK, didn't stay in this town anymore that he lives in, and didn't have that house and all this shit. But then when I went there, I knew he was there. I could see my stuff in the fucking window ledge in my bedroom. My Wi-Fi box, I could see the little ears. If you look back in the stream or the episodes of TFP, you'll see on my window ledge on the right of me, right? You can always see there's like a little box. It's my Wi-Fi thing. It's got 2 little like antennas, like cat ears. You can
Yeah.
fucking see that on the window ledge outside. And I went, I know he's fucking there. You know what I mean? Like, come on. He went to the door though, and I could hear him in the house. I had the Alexa app. I could see he was using Alexa app, and he wouldn't answer the door. Hid from me for 2 fucking hours. That I was in the town waiting for him to answer. After that, I writ off my equipment, and that's where we're at the minute. Had to buy all new equipment, and here we are. We're able to get back to TF. Like, this is the first episode of TFP we've been able to record since fucking October. Because
Was it like we said at the beginning? What would be like 140 days away from our
100?
last upload,
I
which is
could literally pull
insane.
up right now just to give an example to everybody watching.
That is
Right,
nearly
of how
half a
long it's been.
year.
Literally, it's unbelievable. We have been away right now from TFP from episode 47, which was Z Storm's episode. Right, it's been 145 days and 5 hours since the time we're recording this right now. 145 days. And now that isn't just because of my dad, right? I didn't leave in October. I left in December. That was because of our guests, Coda and Liger from the last season. That we haven't even been able to fucking arrange them to come on yet. Now, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if we're going to be able to get them on. We pray, you know what I mean? But like, we don't know. But like, that's because of them. But it's also because of this, you know. So this is why we're here to make this episode and have a chat about it a little bit, kind of be honest and be upfront. So yeah.
We mentioned this on the stream, didn't we? Like about having flaky guests. It's like,
Oh yeah.
you know, some people just. If anyone's ever offered a chance to come on the podcast and you're listening to this now, if you don't want to come on the show, please just
Don't.
tell us, because then
Yeah.
we'll move on to writing something else and we won't get
Yeah.
postponed. And we would much rather, you know, make progress. And it's, I don't know, it's weird for me to say this, but it is just weirdly selfish when people do that, because we've
You're
dedicated
just
so
holding
much
a
time
spot,
to
man.
it.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
we
like
just
it's
want you
like
to say no
the entire
so we
time
can
I've been at my
continue.
mum's, and like the entire time I've left my dad's for like since December now till obviously it's like 2nd of March today as we're recording this, right? I've been writing on scripts and stuff for the next season. This season now is TFP and this episode and stuff. This is all like we've done a lot of stuff, right? But for any guest that is going to come on, or any guest who has came on, they'll know this. Like, if we invite you on, it doesn't always happen right away as much as we wish it would. It can sometimes take weeks because, or even months, because we have to write up a script, do research, and we don't want to we don't want to disrespect you by making your episode as not as good as it could be. So that's just a heads up. But when we invite you on, if you accept to come on, we expect, and this is the only thing we expect from you, we expect you to just be a man of your word or be a person of your word and go, all right, I said I'd come on the show, I'm going to come on. And
Or
at the
if there
minute,
is a circumstance change, do tell us,
tell us.
because then
Yeah,
we can at least move on, postpone, change,
yeah.
or leave for a while.
We we've had
There are
issues.
so many things we can do to like
Yeah,
maneuver around this type of thing. Because
we
when
had
we
issues
are
with
left
guest
like this,
interviews.
it's just yeah, we've had a
It's
lot.
horrible, man. We've had issue from the season 3 with the episode 38 and stuff like that. Before Mister Vloops and stuff, episode 39 it was in fact. We couldn't get the guest on, so we had to delay episodes for fucking months. That's what happened then. It also happened again with obviously this season and now, well, the last season now, and probably will happen with this season to some
I
extent.
don't think it's gonna. I don't think it's gonna end up happening. So I'm gonna say it anyway. And obviously, if you don't
Let's
want
hope
this
not.
in, I can cut this out. But I just want to say as well. It's not like a thing that's happened only in the past. It's still ongoing. Like
Oh yeah,
even if we reach out to you, please do get back to us. Tell us yes
let us
or no.
know.
Don't read it and leave it, because we recently reached out to my next host, my next guest that I wanted to get on the show.
His
Um,
directed episode.
yes, yes. So it was going to be Christina, which is a streamer that I know, and I've known her for going on 7, 8 years since
A
we were
similar
little.
amount of time. Yeah,
She does seem to not want to come on. She is always kind of when we did eventually get an answer out of her, it was no, I don't want to come on. Fair enough. To
yeah,
each his own. Everyone can do it, and I've
yeah,
got no hate
totally.
towards her. She's a very good friend of mine, but people grow apart, and I get
Yeah,
that. But I just wish she got back to us sooner and said, "Hey, I'm not interested." Because she even said to Joe when Joe reached out, not even when I reached out, because I reached out a few times, but Joe had to reach out on top of that to us to even like
yeah.
garner a response.
Directly
Um,
email, Facebook, no
and
message. Then I
she
told you
even told
stream.
us, she told Joe even, not even me. She said, "Oh no, yeah, I seen them. I just don't think it's ready for me." I'm like, so why didn't you respond? So we didn't have to
Yeah,
chase you for a month or so. It
yeah,
is
we sit and wait.
ridiculous.
Like we try and plan the seasons out in advance, like we talked about in the Red Raid episodes. If you're intrigued about all this kind of stuff, listen to them and watch them. We'll talk about this probably most likely in the Red Raid episode for the end of this season, right? But we try and plan in advance. We do, but obviously, fucking what's the quote or the saying? It's like God laughs at man's plans or whatever it is, right? And like it is what it is. Like shit happens. But if you can't make it or you're not interested, there's nothing wrong with just saying that. I'm not interested. Like,
Yeah.
don't please though. If you do agree to come on the show, if it takes a month or two for your episode to actually happen, don't then just go after that 2 months when we do invite you on and say, right, that's everything ready. You ready to do this? I'm not interested. That shit is like that will get you so fucking. I'll get so angry because like the amount of time we spend
I would
researching
also
that,
like to
it's unreal.
clarify absolutely no disrespect to these people. But I do want to just say though, please be transparent, because otherwise it will be
Definitely.
disrespect
Oh yeah, I mean
and
that's it
worse.
exactly. I know this thing goes both ways though with guests and stuff and the host, but we are both individuals. We try and do our own thing. So when we try and arrange guests to come on the show, it's hard for us all to arrange things, but we do try, and all we expect is a little bit common courtesy. That's
Even with
it.
time zones, it's like Z Storm. Z
Oh
Storm lives
yeah,
in America. He lives in New York. So like time zones are almost completely flipped on their head. And obviously Joe does
always
full time
yeah,
YouTube. He's also dealing with or has been dealing with the moving situation, which is
yeah.
looking a lot clearer now, which is
Building
nicer.
up the office, which is
Um,
falling apart as you can see behind me here.
Exactly.
Like yeah,
So he's
yeah,
gonna have to start again soon. So get in on that. I've got a part time. I was doing college, finished that. Trying to find an actual job in like film industry. Also trying to work on my own stuff as well and do driving and also see family. So it is a balance. So when people can be transparent with us, it is actually extremely helpful. Which obviously goes without saying. And Joe's fixing his studio because it's crumbling apart.
it is. It's falling apart on camera, but no,
Bro's got the integrity of Temple Run.
yes, you would say, but no, it goes a long way. That's what we're trying to say. But no, I think honestly, when it comes down to it, with that being said, that's how our 2022 went. It might sound like it went very drastically bad for us both. I'd still say 2022 was a better year for me than 2021 by far, but it still could be better. Hopefully, 2023 will be that kind of turning point.
I think both of them were like, I don't know, they both had like ups and downs. I don't think there was
Yeah,
anything miraculously noticeable. And that sounds really bad, but maybe
no,
that's just the trauma kicking in. Like you said, maybe something really bad did happen.
just
I
the
actually was in
trauma.
a head-on collision and I
That's
don't
what it
remember
is.
anything.
That's what it is. But no, man. Well, I know it's one of those things, dude. It's a sin. But I mean, I guess we got to talk about before we end here what our resolutions and goals are for this next year, because obviously we're gonna probably make a sequel to this episode, which will be in 2023 or 2024. What are your goals and resolutions, I guess, for this year?
Well, I kind of touched on it a little bit because I mean, like I said, what it was going to be from last year was at the start of this year, upload weekly. There's a YouTuber I watch called Doug Doug. I'm a very big fan of them, and he actually has a second channel called Doug Doug Doug, and
Right.
he did a thing it's like an hour and 20-minute long video, like how to be a content creator. Like it was a big thing, like on what to do, how to practice it, and good things like that. And it was very similar to a lot of stuff Joe's told me before. And I was like, you know what? All these people are telling me this, I should try it. And it was about consistency. And it was like upload once a week. It's like entering the lottery. If you buy a ticket once a week, you're going to have more chances than if you put in a ticket once every month or year, etc. And it's very true. So my plan was to upload weekly, and I did that for 4 weeks at the start of this year. And I do wanna kind of still do that because, like, uploading weekly was a good feeling. It feels good to be that consistent, and you see a bit of growth with it. However, at the same time, dealing with my part-time that stresses me out quite a lot, doing the podcast as well now, obviously not so much then, but I assume a lot more now, and obviously driving, et cetera, other things in my life, it got to a point where I was like, "Do I really wanna stress myself with this and then hate what I'm doing?" And then on top of that, I recently made that Skylanders video, making me realize that I prefer the longer form content. I really want to make videos that are 30 minutes to an hour long or 20 minutes, minimum, because I believe that's the content I like to watch. So I want to produce that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And with the reaction that video got, it was really cool. And I was like, well, if I could just make less videos, but more like that high quality with the animation skills that I know, with the new choreography stuff, or what not choreography, but the cinematography skills that I've got from my college degree, uh, improving my commentary, my audio is always getting better as well, I think as well, um, and just focusing more on the quality of things. But I also want to a degree, keep up consistency. I was thinking, and this is still very rough at the moment, but I was thinking instead of a weekly upload, doing a weekly stream. So I've got a consistent viewer base. But then every now and then I'm like, hey guys, and I'm streaming, but I've uploaded a video again. It's a big project on this. And I think by doing those sorts of videos like the Skylanders one, because it's a good topic, a good long project and video, I think that will garner more, um, progress to my channel than if it was just a small thing every week. But this is obviously like still a rough thing. So my plan is to focus more on those bigger projects and make more things that I'm proud of, because I can look back at all the videos I've uploaded in this weekly interval thing, and I've realized all of the small videos I don't like at all. They've done okay, they've done well, some even,
Yeah.
but the only one that I'm proud of and has done the best is the big one, and I enjoyed doing it the most. So why focus on the other stuff if it's not gonna help me as much? The, I actually looked at this as well. Those 3 other videos other than the Skylanders video, combined did nowhere near as good in, like, watch hours, in, interaction and click rate was so much, but I'm really stumbling on words right now, I don't know why.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Yeah, yeah.
But that Skylanders video, essentially what I'm saying is, did absolutely fantastic. It got everyone that watched it apparently watched at least 25 minutes of it, which is absurdly good. These short ones, people were watching 30 seconds, and that is just not worth it, I don't think. Not because I care about just the statistics, but I want to make stuff that people enjoy and stuff that I
Yeah.
enjoy making, and I think that's the most valuable
That's the
thing
most
there.
important aspect. Like that's the most important aspect to
But
you.
it's all
That's the most
very
important thing.
experimental. I think my goal this year isn't necessarily to upload weekly, but it is to find and master, or at least really vastly improve upon my style of content to a point where it is losing my voice now, to a point where it is, at a state where I can say, this is what I do, this is how I do it, and I can do it
Yeah.
consistently and people enjoy it, and then see where it goes from there. Because I do want to really start building up my fan base. I've been stuck on like 2.07K for about 2 years. It's ridiculous. So I need to get on that. But the Skylanders video was the biggest bit of growth I've seen in those 2 years. So I think it's all worth it. That's my main goal. Yourself?
Myself, honestly, for me personally, my goal for this year is it's quite simple. I think honestly, my resolution and goals for this year, is kind of the generic get in shape. That's the first one I'll go with. I've never been really like too bad out of shape, but like seeing 2022, like I remember weighing myself at my dad's girlfriend's when I was laying there, and when I was laying there, when I was staying there, and I was 205 pounds. Right,
Mm.
which is like 14 odd stone. That's really unhealthy for my weight. That's over BMI. That's on the obese category BMI.
Yeah, you were
Now,
speaking
just
about this
clarify,
yesterday.
yeah, just clarify. That doesn't mean that like, oh my god, you look like you're fucking like, oh my god, obese. We hear the word obese and we kind of
You
like
think
the
Jabba the
mental
Hutt,
image.
yeah.
Yeah, the mental image triggers that. It doesn't mean like that. Obese can be on a BMI scale like you're just overweight to the point of unhealthy, and that was me and my dad's girlfriends. And then because of my fluctuating habit of eating and stuff like that, I guess the weight fluctuated a little bit, but it wasn't good. And then when I left my dad's and now I'm at my mother's, I'm eating healthier. I'm actually working out. Joe knows this. I've been going to the gym, which is great. I'm going to the gym
Yeah.
actually tomorrow
I'd
and
like
stuff.
to quickly elaborate on mine real quick because I've
Go
also
ahead.
been hitting the gym, not to the
Go on.
same degree Joe has been doing it,
Yeah.
but I thought just that feeling of feeling more
Getting
physically
fitter.
fit is
Yeah.
nicer, which is something I
Oh,
didn't do
definitely.
before. I'm going at least 1 to 3 times a week now, which is really nice. And
Yeah.
on top of that, just trying to find a job in film. That would probably be all of my goals together. I've been
That's
applying for that
that's
sort of thing.
I think that's a totally fair kind of like set goals. I said for me, it's just kind of I've got a few, but like it's mainly going to be working out. For me right now, my weight is at 173.8. I checked it just the other day. I say 174, let's say, and that's good. I was at 181 when I started weighing myself. My mother's when I like this was like about a month and a half ago or whatnot. So I've dropped successfully almost 10 pounds, which is great. I mean, you can see the jaw and everything looks a lot more defined. I look really, really, really healthy for it. I look good. You know, again, just to clarify, like just to show everybody, because I've not a lot of people get to see me when I actually stand up, right? I'm not actually like I wear a lot of jumpers and stuff because it's comfy. It's not literally because like I'm just a fat or something that you can see here. So it's tight across. That's me. You know what I mean? Like that's it. I may have the little bit love handles and like the man tits as they call it, right? Whatever. That's my pecs. You were saying as I call it, but like man's getting those abs. So it is. You can see. But yeah.
You
So
need
the
something to
plan
hold on
is.
to, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. 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 You would say well I'm flexing, but no, so my plans personally, for me at least this is to try and drop from now at 170, say 174. I want to try and drop them to say 160, 155 or under. I think it is like I'd actually that's underweight on a BMI level, which is I don't want to go there, but I do want to drop down. And by this summer, my plan is to have abs, pure abs, like the proper like you know what I mean, like the stereotypical six
Catman
pack.
Joe's OnlyFans is gonna be
Oh,
like
it's gonna be
a
good, man. It's
thing.
gonna be popping. It's gonna be popping, man. It's gonna be popping. But no, honest to God, I swear it's my plan. For this summer, I want to have abs, and I just want to keep just getting stronger. I am. I've upped my weights a bunch of times now. I've upped my weights like 3 times now in total, and I'm lifting a lot heavier than what I was at the beginning, which is natural, but like it's good, and I feel great for it, man. And I just want to get healthier. That's my main one. And then the second one after that is get my full driver's license. I passed my theory in December. Awesome, awesome. I've had a bit of a turbulent past, like say 2 months now, because I've been having to spend money to get all my equipment again. That's literally just recently done that. And then obviously, of course, getting back to work, making videos, starting to stream again. Like this weekend coming. Today is actually Thursday for us. Tomorrow will be Friday. This Friday will be my I think second weekend now back streaming because I started only on Saturday, literally just passed. So
Oh,
this
you have reminded me briefly. Sorry to cut in again,
oh go ahead, go ahead.
but I just remembered, based off that when I said about getting a job in film and stuff. There is for anyone that's tried to do it themselves before, you know how hard it is, especially when you're doing like the editing scene of things.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
everywhere, every job wants you to know how to use Adobe. Like I don't know how to use Adobe that well because I just
You're
use
Filmora,
Filmora.
man.
So basically, what I was thinking of doing, because you can actually get like a 60-hour package where you can use all of the stuff and do like self-taught lessons, and there's people that make videos for it. It's a bit like Skillshare, but something like
Right.
that. I don't know. I was talking to some of my family about it, and they recommended it because someone they know has done it before, and I thought, well, that's probably quite valuable. So maybe one of my goals as well was to get a bit more in touch with Adobe purely for application stuff and getting a
Yeah.
job in the film industry because I love Filmora, but when I write that down on a CV, people are like, "Well, it's not Adobe Premiere Pro," even though it is
Yeah.
virtually the same thing, if not
And
better.
it's just yeah, exactly. But that's
But
it.
we've spoke about editing software so much on this
Oh yeah,
podcast.
but editing Gavoid's episode especially that was like
Yeah,
an editing software kerfuffle. It was brilliant. But like no, it's one of those things. So my plans is to get in shape, get my full driver's license. That's gonna happen. I just at the minute there's a lot of stabilizing got to happen. I've literally right now just got my office. That this is it. It's like just a week into it now. This is my second week. I'm still just stabilizing. I'm getting used to things, breathing a little bit easily. My dad, I am hoping to at one point, if fucking if the stars align, get my stuff from my dad's. Preferably, I don't want to fling all that equipment away inherently, right? Even though I now have doubles, I've got another monitor at my dad's, a big one, and an ultra wide and thin one, and cameras and mics and another PC. I can still use it, and it means I could have maybe one set up in my office and then one at my actual mother's house because I've got my own office now, which is where I'm at the minute. But it's all a stepping stone. I think after that, aside from driver's license, working out, it's also building my channel back up and working on TFP. These are two other big things I want to do, and also seeing friends. That's a huge thing. I want to be going to hopefully visit Joe and stuff at some point, and other people that I care about. I want to see. I've got a lot of plans. It's going to be awesome. So we're gonna. I think life for us this year, I hope, is going to really stabilize. I think that's going to be what this year's kind of going to be. Kind of really
next
build
episode,
the
the tremendous, terrible
we're gonna have to think of.
2023.
I'd love to hear some spitball ideas for like what we could title the next year's version. 2023. What we'll look back like when we're in 2024. I'll be a year older. You'll be a year older. What are we going
Really?
to both be saying? What? Yeah, apparently. What are we both
Oh
going to
my
be
god, I'll be
saying about the?
20. I'll be
And I'll
20.
be
That's
24, man.
insane.
I'll be 24. It's mad to think. You know what I mean? It's crazy to
I
actually
was
really fathom.
13 when you met me, right? That's insane.
13, man. It's kind of fucking crazy to think, man. It really is.
Jesus
But yeah.
Christ.
But I know, I think on that note, I think that's pretty much us, bro. What do you think? I think that's us. We've kind of said our piece. This will be like a huge episode, a lot longer than what we expected, but just because we were just saying what we had to fucking say and get what we
I
had,
think I
what we had
think
to
we
get off our
need these
chest. Oh,
episodes where it's a bit more raw because
yeah.
we need to just speak about these things people then can understand. People who don't just care about the guests individually and care about the show and the host
No,
and
yeah.
stuff. It is nice for them to sit there and be like, "Oh, this is what's going on," as opposed to us being like, "Here's an episode. We were gone for 140
Yeah.
days because
No,
lol."
this is it.
You
Yeah,
know.
yeah. No, yeah. And I mean, our plan right now is literally with episode 51. Hopefully, when you're seeing this episode, because we're not going to release this without the other episodes coming first. So, presumably, when this episode goes out, we've already got episodes 48 and 49 and 50 recorded, which is great. So, you've got to see them, and those will hopefully be good. But yeah, here's hoping that this year can just be better for us, and this year can be a nice improvement upon last year, and if not better. That's what I hope. So, here's praying,
I
man.
hope I don't die. That's kind of it, really.
Same here, man. You were saying if you do, I'll be at the funeral. You were saying let's all be. No, I'm kidding. I'm just kidding.
You're not
I think that's
invited. Actually, hold it, real quick,
outrageous. Go ahead.
real quick. If I was to die, right? Would you come to my funeral? Like on God,
I
if you
would
have to
come
come
to.
down to Kent,
I
like,
honest
would
to
you?
God, I'd come. I would honest to God come to your funeral. I don't know
Okay,
how
well,
I'd get informed. I guess I'd have to contact your parents, but I would be like, listen, I'm a friend of Joe's. I'm the Catman Joe. Your son knew me. I'm like the big
I
YouTuber
mean,
friend of his that's
to be fair
famous.
though, it actually wouldn't be that hard for you to like say that to them because they all do know who you are.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
I low key. I mean, we've got like I think the beautiful part is like I know this is super dark for a fucking second, but like if either of us were to die, I think one of the most beautiful things we have is our channels, but also as well the fact we have this joint project. Like
hmm.
I love this.
Oh,
Here's a
this
question.
is
Here's a
really depressing.
hypothetical. No,
Go
here's
on,
a
right,
hypothetical. Right.
and then I'll follow up.
If I or you die, do we continue the podcast without each other?
I was just gonna say that. I was gonna say
There
like
you
what
go.
I feel
I,
like it would be like a really depressing descent into like I don't know
shit, man.
because
Do I just
I'm
replace you
thinking
with Brad?
that's such a downgrade. Like
Dude, it is. No,
worse
God,
beard,
God love
worse
Brad.
glasses, no hair,
Oh, yeah.
American. But yeah, but no, but like I don't know. Like I think it depends who actually. I
I
think
don't
if
think I
I
could.
was
I don't.
no really I thought like if I was to die,
I
I
don't.
think you would be able to like what I would do is I'd probably
No,
leave like
man.
some notes being like, yo man, it's kind of fucking funny. I'm dead lol. Like use this,
Eh,
you do it.
no,
I think if you were to die, I'd be like, I'd be distraught. I'd be like, what do
I
I
think
do with this?
yeah, no, I think there's that kind of issue of like if you were to die on my end and I was on the other side of the table, I'd be fucked because I'd be like like there's a part of me that want to continue it in your memory, but then it's like I love you so much I wouldn't want to do it without you kind of thing. I feel like I wouldn't want to tamper with what we had done. This is
I feel
us.
like it would be
This is our
so
project.
I wouldn't say dishonorable, but it's such a weird thing to think about because it's like there's what hundreds of hours of footage of us
Oh, dude,
speaking together, and then
we
for one of us to be
it's
dead
beautiful,
is
man.
quite
Yeah.
absurd.
I feel like it's so fucking like man, that'd be fucking hurt. Like that shit would be
People at
fucked.
the beginning of this podcast like, oh my god, they're talking about 2022 at the
Oh
end. We're like, what if we were
yeah,
dead,
we're like,
man?
what if we're dead, man? Let's have that deep conversation. Well, yeah, I think we'll come back to that
Actually,
question. Go
I don't
ahead.
want to be that guy. Quickly, sorry, I don't want to be that guy to be like, oh, let the comments decide. But I actually would be if anyone is
Watching
like
to this point,
watching
let us
this
know
point and they're
what
like
you would think we should do.
they know what we're like as people and obviously
Yeah.
it's creators. What do you
Do,
actually think would happen? Like, what
do
would
I
you
just replace
speculate?
Joe
Because that's
with like
kind
a
of
mop?
hilarious.
Like what do we do? Like
It's like a just this on a stick.
just on a mop with like the fucking bits of the hair. You replace me with just like a hat and fucking I don't know what else.
Just get an actual cat.
Just yeah, a cat with like a little hat on its head. That just
I'm
sits
like
there, like, the
rocking in my
entire time.
room and there's like a cat on the other side. Like Joe, what do you think of the new Minecraft update?
Oh, well, you're diluted so fucking bad. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to end it here. Thank you all so much for watching, guys. We hope that you enjoyed episode 51 of the Forgotten Podcast, the joyful tale of 2022. Hopefully, we'll see you guys in episode 52. And we hope that you enjoyed this episode. Joe's zooming in. He's trying to do what I can do.
Hello. I mean, goodbye. Yeah.
What do we do? You fucking ruined it. All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. Bye-bye.
Goodbye, people.
Bye-bye.